Have you ever felt like failure was the end of the road? What if I told you that failure isn't just a setback, it's actually the key to unlocking your greatest potential? What if failure wasn't the end, but the very beginning of something extraordinary? What if every setback you faced was actually setting you up for your biggest breakthrough? In this video, I'm going to show you how to stop seeing failure as the end of the story and start using it as a powerful tool to grow stronger, smarter, and more resilient. Let's look at some of the most successful people who turned failure into their greatest strength. Think about Steve Jobs. He was fired from the very company he co-founded, Apple. At the time, it was devastating, but Jobs later admitted that being fired was the best thing that could have happened to him. It gave him the freedom to start over, and eventually he returned to Apple to transform it into one of the most valuable companies in the world. Think about Thomas Edison, the man who invented the light bulb. He failed over 1,000 times before he got it right. But he didn't see those attempts as failures. He called them steps toward success. Or J.K. Rowling, the author of Harry Potter, who was rejected by 12 publishers before her magical world finally came to life. These people didn't let failure define them. They used it to fuel their success, and so can you. These stories prove one thing. Failure isn't a dead end. It's the beginning of something great, if you choose to keep going. Failure is universal. Everyone experiences it, no matter how successful they may seem. It's not a reflection of your worth or your abilities. It's a natural part of the process. Failure doesn't define you. It shapes you. And when you start seeing it as a step toward growth, instead of an end, you'll realize it's one of the most valuable tools for success. Here's the truth. Failure isn't the opposite of success. It's a critical part of the journey to get there. Every failure you experience is like a stepping stone, guiding you closer to your goals. It's not something to avoid, it's something to embrace. Without failure, there's no growth, no learning, and no progress. When you see failure as a necessary part of success, it stops being something to fear and starts being something to value. Failure isn't the end, it's feedback. Think of it as life's way of giving you valuable information. Every time you fail, it's not a sign that you're defeated. It's a signal that something needs to change, improve, or be approached differently. Instead of seeing failure as a roadblock, look at it as a checkpoint that helps you adjust your course and move closer to success. It's not about falling down. It's about what you learn when you get back up. Failure often hides lessons that we don't always see at first. Every failure holds valuable insights if we take the time to reflect. First, it shows you what didn't work. Think of it as eliminating one wrong approach so you can move closer to finding the right one. Second, it highlights areas for improvement. Maybe there's a skill you need to sharpen, a strategy you need to refine, or a mindset you need to shift. Failure shines a light on those weak spots, giving you a chance to grow stronger. And finally, failure reveals whether you're on the right path. Sometimes failing at something helps you realize that you need to pivot, adjust, or even pursue a completely different direction, one that aligns better with your goals and purpose. When you stop seeing failure as the end and start treating it as a source of lessons, it becomes one of your most powerful tools for growth. Failure is like the toughest teacher you'll ever have, but also the most valuable one. It challenges you, pushes you out of your comfort zone, and forces you to look at what went wrong. The lessons might not always be obvious or easy, but if you're willing to listen, failure can teach you things that success never could. It's in those moments of struggle and reflection that real growth happens. Bouncing back from failure is one of the most important skills you can develop. The truth is, failure isn't what defines you. It's how you respond to it. Setbacks are inevitable, but staying down is a choice. When you learn to rise after falling, you build resilience, confidence, and the ability to face future challenges head-on. Here's a simple step-by-step process you can use to turn failure into your greatest strength. The first step is to acknowledge your failure instead of running from it. It's okay to feel disappointed. It's natural. But don't let those feelings turn into self-doubt or denial. Once you've accepted the failure, take a step back and analyze it. Ask yourself, what went wrong? What could I have done differently? What lessons can I take away from this experience? Treat failure like an experiment where every result, even a negative one, gives you valuable data for moving forward. Now that you've identified the lessons, it's time to adjust your strategy. Use what you've learned to try again, but this time with a new perspective or method. Failure only becomes a mistake if you refuse to learn from it. Each adjustment brings you closer to finding the path that works. Success is a long-term game, and failure is part of the journey. Keep showing up even when things get tough. Remember that the most successful people didn't make it because they avoided failure. They made it because they refused to quit. Consistency, even in the face of setbacks, is what will separate you from everyone else. Let's face it, failure isn't the opposite of success. It's the launch pad for it. It's the cracks in the road that lead to breakthroughs, the challenges that shape you into someone stronger, wiser, and unstoppable. When you learn to embrace failure, reframe it as a lesson, and use it as fuel, you turn setbacks into the foundation of your greatest comeback. So now I want to hear from you. What's one failure in your life that taught you something you'll never forget? Drop it in the comments below. I can't wait to hear your stories.